Welcome to What's Up, Joe, with your host Stan Scrabbit and Bob Birch. This is a weekly program where we take a behind-the-scenes look at articles from the Journal of Extension. Today's guest is Tristan Huff from Oregon State University, and our topic is Google Earth, Low Investment GIS for Extension Professionals. Welcome, everybody. Hi, Bob.
Hey, Stan. How's it going?
Doing good. How are things up in North Dakota?
Not too bad. Cooling off a little bit, but we've had some nice weather in the last week or so. How about you?
It's doing good. Beautiful day. We got a little rain last night, but right now, blue skies, a little bit of clouds, so it's kind of nice. So, hey, Tristan, welcome to our show.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are things where you're at?
Oh, things are great. We've just got our first winter storms, so a little blustery and wet, and it's actually some much-needed moisture, so we're appreciating that. Very
cool. Hey, I was noticing on your back wall there that you have a bunch of maps and stuff, which kind of leads us into the topic today is that Google Earth and GIS stuff. So why do you think this is important to extension educators?
Well, I think it's important. When I first started out, it showed its importance to me as a new extension forester, a field-based forester. I'm lucky enough to be based out in the counties and work with landowners one-on-one. And since we're working with landowners and they have a land-based enterprise, it's super critical, I think, to have a good sense of what is on their land, what's their land like, and because we're talking to them about their land, and they're very intimately aware of what's going on, but we as sitting at our desk, if we're on the phone or via email, don't have a good sense of what's going on out there, and that's where geospatial technologies come in, as they allow us to take kind of a bird's eye look at what's going on, and really allows us to connect with those landowners in a much more meaningful way. It's a very different thing to be talking with someone on the phone about their property if you're able to be looking at their property on your screen while you're doing it. And that's kind of what got me thinking along these lines and looking at ways that extension professionals can do this without having to spend half of our working days learning technology and really spending the time learning it rather than spending the time using it with our clients.
So your article in the Journal of Extension, Tristan, is about using Google Earth, for low investment GIS for extension programming. What prompted you to write the article in the first place?
Well, I think I've seen myself as an extension educator struggle with using more powerful but also more time-consuming products. Like I came straight out of school when I started work, and so I was fairly comfortable with ArcGIS, and I started using that in my work, and it worked fine, but I was finding I was spending a lot of time fiddling with it and getting it to work and meet my needs, when really I realized that the types of things I was using it for were very simple uses, things like pulling up aerial photographs or measuring the length of a road. And I didn't need such a fancy software package to do that. And so, looking around at other options, Google Earth presented itself, and I thought, well, Google Earth is working great for me, and it was an easy thing to learn, so maybe some other extension agents who have the same needs, presumably, would be able to latch on to Google Earth and get it to work for them in the way that it worked for me. So that was my goal with the article, was really to share my experience and hopefully benefit some others.
So when you're talking about using Google Earth, are you also like creating a file for your clients, the folks that you're meeting with, and they so you're sitting at two different computers looking at the same file, or
Yeah. No, I haven't gone. I haven't gone that route yet, except for a few clients, and it's really client dependent. Some landowners are really going to latch onto the idea of Google Earth and technology in general. Um, I would say it's with most clients. I'm going to be on my end. I'm going to be looking at an aerial photo of their property. Um, it's rare when they'll have the same image pulled up on their end, but again, they're knowledgeable about their property in different ways that I'm not. They spend time out on the ground. But where I have seen that interaction back and forth is when we get more in depth with the when I'm working in more depth with a landowner, especially putting together like a management plan. That's where Google Earth can kind of bridge that gap a little bit. It's not really possible for most landowners to invest in ArcGIS and some of these more expensive commercial products, but a few landowners have really latched onto Google Earth and use it to map out their property, create a simple management map, and they are able to kind of email that back and forth between the two of us, and I can give feedback, send it back, they can work on it some more. And that's kind of another side benefit of an extension agent using Google Earth, is because it is the same language that a landowner might be able to use and pick up.
Right on. Can you just show us an example?
Yeah. So let me share a screen here and pull up Google Earth. Yeah. So maybe on that along the management planning veins, this is just an example property I use when I'm explaining to folks. Let's get it moved over here if I can. So this, I just fired up Google Earth here, and it's zooming into a place in the beautiful state of Oregon, very green, of course.
Yeah, we're not seeing it right now. So.
Oh, let me move it over to proper screen here.
Keeps moving.
There we go. There we go. See that? Okay.
All right. Very good.
Great. Technology. Okay. So if you're not familiar with Google Earth, I'll just orient you real quick. The main viewing screen here is an aerial photograph that's provided by Google, and that's really valuable because you don't have to spend time going out and finding aerial photography, and aerial photography is available and you can get a hold of it, but it takes time and you have to go out and find it. So Google Earth does all that for you, and I find that they have fairly high quality recent photos. I believe this is a 2013 photo, and so just having quick access to an aerial photograph is incredibly valuable, I think. And so this is the basic map that a landowner might create. All it's showed now is the property boundary that was laid out by a landowner. And then along the left side here are all the different features that have been created, and they're all unchecked now, so we're not seeing them, but we can turn them on or off. So for example, here are streams, and they have been buffered here. I'm going to turn that off, but here are streams that flow through this property. This was actually imported into Google Earth using data from the state of Oregon. So that's kind of a more advanced tool, but something that an extension agent can certainly learn how to do that. And what else do we have in here? I won't turn on everything right now, but so different stands of timber have been kind of delineated using the polygon tool in Google Earth, and they can be clicked on or off depending on what the what the purpose of the map is and what we're using it for. Roads can be drawn in. These are drawn in by hand in Google Earth. They can be turned on or off. Let's see, I'm going to hold off on that last, maybe show off that last feature later. So you can see it, without a lot of work, a landowner can draw out a property boundary with whatever features they're interested in as a landowner, and it doesn't take a lot of time to learn, and this can also be can also be shared with an extension agent or a logger or anyone else that that person's working with, a family member that's across the country. And that accessibility really allows a lot of communication, etc. there.
Tristan, one of the scenarios that you bring up when you're in your article is actually being able to import information from a handheld GPS into Google Maps. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so so I do a fair amount of GPS work when I'm out with landowners. Let's see, is my screen on here? I'm gonna stop this screen for a second and just show. Okay, can you see me now?
Yep.
So I carry Garmin, a GPS map series GPS out with me wherever I go. And when I'm working with landowners, if I'm out on their property, typically I'll just I always ask first, because sometimes people have sensitivities to this, but I always just click on my GPS and start it tracking. And I slip it in my field vest and go off. And what that does is it allows me, when I'm back in the office, kind of reviewing the visit, I can quickly remind myself where we went and what we saw. So I'm gonna go back to Google Earth here and show kind of what that looks like, I guess, from the office. Let's see. I'm gonna load up. Let's see. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do tools GPS, and I'm gonna run through stuff fast, but there's places you can learn how to do all this. We can talk about that later in a little bit, maybe. You can just import it straight from a Garmin, plug it into your USB port, and it'll suck all the points and tracks out of your Garmin and put it into Google Earth. I'm gonna bring it from a file because I don't have my Garmin hooked up, and I have a file saved, and I believe I put that on the desktop. I didn't put it on it. There it is. Yeah. Okay, so this is basically where I went on on one day. I was visiting a couple of properties, and actually I had this turned on all the way from home, so you can see where I drove down the coast. And that's not super interesting to me, but what is interesting is when we zoom in and see this first property. Here we can see, and I don't have the property boundary drawn on here, but I would typically add that. And we can see where I stopped at this person's house, and we went on a little exploration around their property, looking at various things. And I didn't add any points here, but if I was spending more time on the GPS out in the woods, I could mark points that were of significance out there. And then let's see, from there I went to another property up here, and we can see we went to a couple spots with the landowner and looked at some different things. So this is this isn't certainly a game changer in the work we do. I think we've been going out and visiting with landowners for as long as Extension's been around, but it's just one more tool, and one more way to get a little bit more out of these site visits.
So one of the things that you talked about is basically putting waypoints on your GPS, and then probably in a notebook you would put a note and then go back and transcribe those notes back onto Google Earth. Yeah,
you could do that. You can also you can enter some data in through your GPS. Where Google Earth starts to show its limitations is really in the amount of data that you can include along with the geographic data in Google Earth. So so we have I'm gonna go back here. Hopefully this isn't making people dizzy, all this back and forth. I'm gonna go back to our landowner example here. We can have all this geographic data about roads, streams, stands of trees, but Google Earth doesn't allow us to embed any information along with those features other than a simple title and perhaps a little bit of text. And so that's really where Google Earth is different than a product like ArcGIS, a full-blown proper GIS, is that Google Earth isn't really intended to be a database or a place to store data, but you could certainly store markers about points that you're visiting out on the ground in the GPS, and that will get transferred into Google Earth. You just can't be very verbose about it.
Hey, very good. Hey, it's time to take a break and introduce Ask an Expert. Ask an Expert's a service provided by extension.org, where you can get one-to-one expert answers from cooperative extension educators and volunteers across the United States. So far, approximately 200,000 questions have been asked since 2008 on topics ranging from food preservation to pruning and 4-H to social media. If you have a burning question, go to ask.extension.org to get your expert answer. Back to you, Tristan. Hey, one of the things that I had a question about, and that was right up front. You talked about historical aerial photos.
Yeah,
can you show that, because I've never seen that. That's pretty cool.
That's one of the coolest things, I think. I'm gonna flip over to the screen again, and this is something again you can do in ArcGIS. There's no reason you can't load a bunch of aerial photos from different years into ArcGIS and flip through them and make it work. But again, that takes a lot of time. You're organizing photos, big files you have to download, on and on. So this is the example I use in the article. We're going to be looking at this kind of triangular shaped property just across the river from where I am right now. And it's an old field that was planted. I'll just tell you the history now. It was planted in hybrid poplars, and those hybrid poplars were harvested, and that gets us where we are today. This is a 2013 photo. But what we can do is go up. I'm going to close it and show how to open this. But up at the top screen here, there's a clock with an arrow on it, and that's our time machine. And what it does is it pulls up a timeline showing different points in time on here, starting at 2013 and going back to 1994. That tells us we have photos back to 1994, and we just click this left arrow, and it kicks us back in time. So here we see this is just recently after the hybrid poplars were removed. This was actually sprayed there, and this is actually this 2012 stage here. The date is shown up on top here, and we can flip back again. Is this not? Oh no, I've got. You know what I've got is it's using my GPS here. It's using those dates, so I'm going to close that. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so we're at 2012. We can flip back through. This takes us back to 2007 is the next recent photo they have. Back to 2005. Things haven't really changed a lot. The trees are just growing there. That's another 25 photo. Now here's an interesting photo. It was in 2004, but it was taken in April of 2004, and the difference, of course, then is broadleaf trees. Deciduous trees are going to have their leaf off, so these hybrid poplars don't have any leaves. You can see the river is quite a bit higher here in April than it is in the summer, so that gives us a little bit different perspective on things. It helps us delineate hardwoods from conifers up in this upland area. Is a possible use for that, and we can eventually keep cycling back. The photos tend to get a little bit lower resolution and perhaps black and white, although this is a pretty nice black and white photo from 2000, and eventually we'll get back to their oldest 194, and we see the state it was in as a pasture before it was planted. So that's just one example of how you can really gain some insight to a property and the history. I've had landowners that just purchased a property, and often that's when they're calling extension agents, is after they've purchased a property and are just have questions about it, and to be able to show them some of the history of the place can really be empowering.
Hey Tristan, we've got a question from a viewer. Jerry asks, how often does Google Earth update its aerial photos?
Yeah, so Google Earth is real, and this is another kind of downside of Google Earth is that Google's very they're not real open about how they operate, so they won't tell you that answer, but they are getting more and more frequent, especially if you're closer to urban areas. And the more people that live in an area, the more frequently they tend to update. We're not certainly in a high population density area where we are now, where we're looking right now, but they did update in 2013. They haven't updated 2014, even though there are 2014 images available. So it varies from place to place, but they seem to be becoming more and more frequently. And I'd say it's a very good chance that you've got at least 2013 images wherever you are across the country. It seems to be pretty standard now.
Okay. I'll tell you what, that whole timepiece I didn't know about. That is definitely cool, and I can see where that could definitely help some landowners. So, hey, you talked about some add-ons. Do you have any add-ons that
yeah, I can pull.
that you really like?
Yeah, and Google Earth they don't really support. I'm going to share my screen again here. They don't really support add-ons directly in the program, but let's see. Can you see my web browser now?
Yes.
But there are some kind of third-party tools that are available. The two I probably use most often are a commercial product called the website's earthpoint.us, and they do a couple of cool things. They provide free of charge. A main one is it allows you to calculate the area of a polygon that you make in Google Earth. That Google Earth doesn't allow you to do that directly within the program unless you buy their commercial version of Google Earth. But you can fairly quickly figure out the area of a polygon. They have good instructions in here on how to do it. I won't show it. And the second part of this is that I use is they do have a public land survey system for those of us on the west side here of the U.S. They overlay the public land survey system on top of Google Earth, so that's very useful as properties are chopped up into sections and quarter sections, etc. It allows us to find property boundaries easily that way. So I use that a fair amount. The various tools there. UNH extension, they have a great geospatial extension program, and we could talk for a long time about the various webinars, things they put on, classes locally. But one cool thing they have is they have a program where you can upload your KML files, which is kind of the native file format for Google Earth, and it allows you to put that into their program here, and it will also calculate. It'll calculate areas. It will buffer lines. So I did have some buffered streams in that example I showed. I didn't pull those up. And do some kind of more advanced things that typically you would need a GIS for. So that's kind of fun to play around with. And the other one that I tend to use, I'm going to pull up Google Earth here again, which looks like it's completely blown up on me. So I might be able to pull it up or not, but while it's doing that, is a commercial product called huntinggpsmaps.com is the website, and it's a commercial product where they have created a property landowner database that overlays onto Google Earth, and that's incredibly useful, of course, for an extension agent to be able to pull up property boundaries in Google Earth and have the owners associated with that. So I use that a fair amount. The data on it can be kind of old. Landowners might not necessarily the data might not be current, but the boundaries typically stay the same, and it can be useful. So that's one that I use as well.
Hey Tristan, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're coming close on time, and so maybe you could switch back to your camera if you want. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping that you could tell us a little bit. I know you mentioned just before we got started that you have done some work with Google Earth and landowners. So can you tell us sort of how those workshops went and what you see the potential is for using Google Earth with extension clients?
Yeah. I'm not seeing my screen up here, but I guess can you hear me at least?
I can hear you, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on my end here, but so this article in Google Earth is kind of a companion to another JOE article that's forthcoming that deals with some Google Earth workshops I've done with landowners, and I've evaluated those and really used it as a tool to empower landowners to think kind of spatially about their property. So I've done a series of kind of half-day workshops in Google Earth, and finding that landowners really are able to use this tool and get some value out of it. And it's pretty interesting that there's young folks at these classes, and there's folks that I classify as less young, but perhaps more experienced landowners, and they're picking up Google Earth just as fast as anyone and really enjoying it. So it is a very accessible technology, and I think there's a lot of possibilities there.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to take a land, kind of mark it out with what your intentions are, and then just continuously being able to look at it a year later, 2 years later, and showing those comparisons, using those history images, but also, what you mapped out in GIS and what your treatment is maybe of the land. I think that'd be huge potential, working with different farmers and ranchers and such.
Certainly, yeah. And it's not for everyone. Some folks find that it's too much, and they don't need it, they don't take it on, it doesn't have value for them, and some people find that it's not enough, and they kind of graduate from Google Earth and start looking at more full-blown GISs. So it's not for everyone, but it's a good starting point, I think, for a lot of people.
Are you seeing, as far as fellow extension educators, their adoption of using this to be able to have those conversations with landowners?
Yeah, some are using it. Certainly among our the cadre of extension foresters in Oregon that I talk with on a regular basis, there's some use among them, and a lot of interest from folks that haven't been using it but want to start using it, and I think they're starting to get some value out of it as well.
Very cool. Very cool. So, yeah. Anything else that you want to add on that topic?
I think the next step and where I'm kind of going from here is this is all done at the desk on a desktop version of Google Earth, but there is a mobile version of Google Earth and other mobile tools that kind of do the same things as Google Earth, and everyone's got a smartphone now. And kind of being able to take Google Earth out in the woods with a landowner I'm starting to play around with that more, and getting kind of good responses from landowners. I think it's not for everyone, it's not appropriate for every situation, but that's kind of the next step with mobile technology now. I think it's a no-brainer that there's opportunities there that need to be explored as well.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's take a quick pause. Talk about learn.extension.org, which is your free access to cutting-edge learning events. These professional development sessions are brought to you by eXtension and are open to anyone. Popular topics include finance, energy, social media for business, and many others. Many of the sessions are recorded for your viewing convenience. Looking to learn something new? Check out a session at learn.extension.org. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, I think it's about time that we kind of pulled it together. And so, Tristan, what are you working on here in the near future that you're excited about?
Yeah, so I did touch on the mobile stuff a little bit, and I wish my screen was up so I could show you the cool little GPS I've been playing with. It's about the size of um, a old school matchbox. Certainly fits in a coat pocket or something that I typically strap to my hat with a rubber band for that. That's a good look out in the woods. And it's a GPS that it has one button on it, turns it on and off, but all it does is talk to my smartphone via Bluetooth, and it's really a way to boost the accuracy of my smartphone GPS, which isn't all that impressive, and turn it into a much more powerful tool. And it's something that I think I'm going to explore possibilities with that new little toy.
Right on. Hey, if you can send us a link with that, we'll go ahead
Sure.
and put it in the show notes after the
I'll
fact.
do that.
That'd be great. Bob, what do you got going on?
We've got more What's Up Joe hopefully next week, and Stan will be promoting that for you as well. So happy to be working on that, and as always involved with the Network Literacy Community of Practice. So I hope you'll check out some of the eXtension Network Literacy content on Facebook, Google+, and other places as well. Just check that out at extension.org/network_literacy. And check out more information about What's Up Joe. We'll be posting at whatsupjoeblog.wordpress.com. So check us out there.
Right on. And also, you also have a wonderful podcast going on, Working Differently. So tell us a little bit about that real quick.
Sure. Working Differently in Extension, just interviews with people who are doing things a little bit differently in Extension and bringing some new tools and ideas to bear on Extension work. So I hope you'll check that out as well. You can find more information about that at www.ag.ndsu.edu/workingdifferently and click on the Working Differently in Extension podcast logo.
Very good. And for me right now, I'm excited about these couple series. What's Up, Joe? I think this is a tremendous amount of fun. And also, we have the Extension Tech Roundtable that we have going on. And we do that on Fridays at 10 o'clock. This one is at noon, and this is all Mountain Time. It's all relative, depending on where you're at. So I appreciate everybody being on. And have a wonderful week, and if you guys hang out for a second, and we'll just kind of close up. So bye, everybody. We'll catch you on the next issue.
Thanks, guys.